What up, bro? We back. We back. We back. What's up, beautiful people? We back again. Another segment of Bro Study with your boy, Coach Mike and Rev Goodbody. Rev, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Oh, I haven't used my mic in a minute.
It's been a while. Man. Yeah, I haven't used mine in a minute either, man, because my internet was tripping, man. But hey, It's all good. Yeah. We back in this thing.
Maybe what's in retrograde right now? Is it Mercury in retrograde again or Saturn?
Is it Mercury again? I feel like.
I feel like it's every day of the year, but I could be wrong.
It really is. Let's see. Because I feel like Mercury just came out, but of course, a couple of weeks ago we had 2, 3 at the same time.
Right.
Let's see what's in retrograde right now. Saturn's
in retrograde to what, like the 23rd or something like that?
29th to the 29th. Yeah.
Better get your life in order.
Yeah.
He coming back, y'all. We in the last days.
Living in the last days. I was waiting on it. We living in the last days. Or another one that we got often growing up was we living in peerless times. Man, hey, we just in straight retrograde. But yeah, man, so the topic of discussion, man, was really spurred on from somewhere where my mind was, and probably about the last month, but also I saw Agora Temple. I saw when y'all did the Sunday social, I guess a couple of Sundays ago, and y'all were talking about the topic of safe spaces, and I was like, wow, it's like, how is it that I just came across this one today when that's kind of been my wavelength, in the last couple of weeks? So it was just the perfect timing. And, of course, that's when I reached out to you and I was like, man, I would love to just put that to the audience that we have, man, to really discuss that. And just with everything going on in 2020, here it is. That was 2 weeks ago. And so now we've had so much more to be going on, and so I just think it's important during this time to be able to not only, think about these things, but to talk through it and to realize the importance of safe spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So what is... So where you going with it? Do you are we diving into why that's necessary, or even what a safe space is? Because that's something I think a lot of people don't even know anything about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think right there, those two main things. What it is. So what's a safe space? But then also the why it's important. Because that's the main thing right now that I think is really key in moving forward and how we progress forward, in this year, but in life in general, any year,
it's communication, man. And we don't have it. We don't have access to it. I mean, we do, but in our minds, we've been programmed to create avenues to lock it out. And so a lot of times we'll have feelings inside of us, or we'll have stress or anxiety, and we can't talk about it because we'll feel judged, or we'll feel like we're not accepted, or we'll feel like we just don't know how to talk about it. So we suppress those feelings, but then those suppressed negative emotions turn into, disease and other things, and mental and physical health issues. So a safe space is a space to where, there's no boundaries. You're able to, there's a space for you to feel completely comfortable with expressing your truth and telling your truth so that you can heal from whatever trauma you have, or for you to allow yourself to love and express love, or to just express yourself without having to worry about whether or not you're going to be judged for, or not accepted, or ridiculed, or made fun of for how you feel. So yeah, man, that's we don't have church is supposed to be a safe space, but unfortunately, a lot of our people have been manipulated into turning it into a lesson seminar
Mm.
where I know something, so I gotta teach you how to do it, which is nonsense, because I can't save you, nor can I teach you. I can only teach myself. And then I can manifest and master the thing that I've learned within myself and do that. And by doing that, if you're able to see that light and reflect it within yourself, that is the teacher right there, not me telling you to do something. So have you noticed that in churches there's no Q&A after the preacher get done preaching? He get up there and be using all them big old words, and at the end nobody can say, wait a minute. So Beelzebub and Zacharias and Jonas, they was where now? Bring that back.
Yeah.
Or Pastor, I've really been struggling with like how I understand what God is. And then you know what they'll say? Oh, that's what Bible study is for. So you need to come to Bible study. But it's like,
Yeah.
well, I want to talk about that within reference to the Bible. I want to talk about it just as a human being. And a lot of times I have answers, but I'm not here to talk about church. I'm here to say that in our communities we don't have a lot of safe spaces. So I hear we've created one. And it's dope, man. And it's really good if you're in a relationship to have a safe space, because that's what starts a lot of arguments is, man, you feel something and then your spouse or your partner is getting triggered by how you feel, because not because, you did something wrong, but because maybe they haven't dealt with something that they went through in the past. So, we're not able to like safely communicate those things. There are no parameters. Go, okay, whatever you got to say right now, whatever it is, just get it out. It could be as ugly, as awful, and just as stupid as whatever. Just let it out and you will be accepted. And you'll be surprised how therapeutic that will be when you're able to just allow yourself to be truthful.
Yeah, man, that's huge. Man, woo. You put so much good stuff out there, man, and just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, I think that is the thing. So the what is a safe space, and exactly what you said is, I mean, it's simple enough to think of it as a safe space, but it's that place in that space where you can say something without the fear of retaliation, or without the fear of it's not going to be heard, or it's not going to be um, the thing that is going to give you that relief, that thing that's going to help you breathe, so to speak. And so I think that's the important thing. And like you said, not to pick on church, but I think it goes in any area. A lot of times your job, your workspaces in places, you can't really say what your opinions are, how you feel about something, because you fear the retaliation. You fear, man, this is going to mess up my job. So I'm gonna just keep it to myself. And I think that's the huge thing that we've seen happen so much in 2020 is the fact of when a few months ago, when it became trendy to talk about what's going on, how we're feeling with everything going on. It's like, okay, now we can talk about it. And it's almost like for a little while, for a little span of time, I don't think so much right now, but for a little span of time, the internet became the safe space where people were saying some things that may have been on their mind about what they were just, keeping inside to they want to express, but they couldn't do it. So like you said, and in relationships, like you said, with your spouse, significant other, anybody, friendships, man, how dope is that and freeing is that to be able to say, all right, here we go. We're going to put a clock on it because we don't want to just wow out. You know what I mean? But we're going to air this thing out 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We're just going to talk it out, put it out there. And it takes two mature individuals, everybody in that safe place, that safe space, to say, okay, listen, this is the agreed upon parameters, and say what you need, get it out there, say what you feel. And I think that's the key right there. What's up, Eric? Alex, what's up, my cousins on? But yeah, I think you hit it. I mean, you hit it perfect, man. That's what it is. So, in thinking about that, bro, like, for a safe place, a safe space, um, does that always have to be physical? In your opinion, does that have to be something physical?
Well, first it's a mental thing, but yeah, it's physical. Like you have to find some space where not a physical space, but an environment where you can be free. If that's in your head, hey, it's in your head. If it's with a group of people at your apartment, or just you at your apartment by yourself, or if it's your closet, like they say, hey, you got to go to your holy of holies place. I understand what that concept is. Like you have to have a space for yourself where you can just see what I'm learning, man. What 2020 is showing us is that we're not being real with ourselves.
Mm.
And our mind is so advanced that when we don't allow ourselves to be real, we will create illusions or personalities or forms of our ego, um, to become these new realities for us, and they'll speak for us, man. They'll live life for us. And then, but the problem is it's not real and it's not authentic. So eventually it's gonna fade out. So with us, like the society, bro, is fake.
Mm.
Nobody wants to tell the truth. A lot of people are afraid to really be real about how they feel, who they are. And granted, because the society says if you are any type of different, whether it be black, whether it be gay, whether it be whether it be woman, whether it be from another country, Muslim, Christian, if it's different, you're not accepted.
Yeah.
And that's a fear that we have some type of enemy. Like we're all broken pieces of one body. So who's against who and for what real reason? When you get down to it, there's no real reason. So there's really nothing to fear. But those fears create up those like just barriers, man, to where you can get into it with somebody, you'll let a situation throw you off, and then you'll go back and replay the thing and see that you weren't even there for that
Mm.
situation. It
Yeah.
was somebody else there. You know what I mean? Who was so who who had been suppressed like a little kid speaking out all those emotions and that truth that you got in you that's been locked up, and now it's shouting out like a little kid. Yeah, get out of me.
Right. Yeah, that's it right there too, man. I think, and the reason why I was on that kick, like I say, for probably about a week and a half before I saw Sunday Social, right, and y'all talked about it. It's probably about a week and a half before that I was really thinking about it, because I think on one of the earlier bro studies we kind of talked about coping in 2020, right? And at the same time, you knowing in the back of your mind that, hey, this, it may not be over. We could see worse. We could see better. But what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like what are you going to allow your mind to focus on, and how are you going to deal with this thing moving forward? Like what's it's almost like that thing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? So that the reason why I asked that question too about it being a physical place, because you said exactly where I wanted to kind of take it to. This physical place, right, can be in that mind, that in that closet. Now, for me, and it's just my opinion, I think sometimes it can be a little more challenging to really get to where that in your mind safe space can happen if it's too cluttered down with all the things going on, and you can't properly be in the environment where your mind can breathe. So like you said, it's all about environment as well. So I think that's important, because that was one thing that really helped me in this year, and even, being in business and doing things, it was finding that space in my mind to allow myself to turn my perspective to the right things. The right things is going to give back to me in a positive way to where I can deal with all the stuff that's going on. So again, that safe place, it is a physical thing, a physical place where you can go. But again, it's also control. And even going to that space, like Agora Temple, right? Going to that space, you have to have a right mindset that now, we think about therapy, counseling, anything like that. The person that's getting the counseling, getting the therapy has to have a certain mindset that, okay, this is where I want to go. I want to progress. I want to move forward. So I think that's the important, I guess, the foundational understanding of how we were talking about what's a safe space.
Check this out, though. The safe space isn't for you to just be by yourself for no reason. So if you're going with it with the idea, I just want everybody to leave me alone. That's one part of it, but that's not the full purpose of isolation. If you're going to isolate for safe space, if you're going to isolate by yourself, and I'm just making an analogy, you probably didn't even bring that up, but if you isolate by yourself to create a safe space, the idea is for you to talk about and to open up and to share and let out what's in you and what's really been bothering you. So you can get in a room and they call it safe space, but if you don't open your mouth, or if you don't heal from nothing, or if you don't receive what's being given, or do the same thing, then you're not doing it. So I'm sorry, got the hiccups. So
I mean, what they say, you mean you're growing,
right? I know. So you have to come in with also the intention to allow yourself to be safe so that you can do what you need to do.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And that's it right there. Like you said, it's not just about isolating yourself, right? Because here's the thing too. If you're going into the understanding of a safe space with the intention of isolating yourself, what are you truly doing? You're actually just bathing in all the things that's going on anyway. And you're creating more pressure, right? You mentioned earlier when we were opening, talking about that dis-ease, right? That's that constant state of pressure. Those things not aligning right, and it's too much going on. So now something's tripped in your system to where it's an overload, and now it becomes dis-ease. So there is no true outlet. So I think that's the important thing to kind of add on to what I was saying as well, with it being where you can go to that safe space in your mind. It's still not about isolation, right? And so that's the biggest key with that. And that's why I love the analogy you made, or the example you gave, like in a relationship, in terms of, hey, let's hash this thing out, talk about what's on your mind, go. Let's get all this out. So now we know, it's something that now I've released, because I talk about it often, where things that you don't release, and that's why I talk about the importance of writing things down. What you don't release, it's going to stay in there. It's building up more and more pressure. Before you know it, man, you're going crazy because you got all this stuff, all these things are not flowing because you have no more space for good to come in, because you're just bogged down. So I think that's huge in creating that space for anybody who's even thinking about, okay, man, how do I establish this, or how do I find a safe space? That's one of the things to think about in establishing that.
So many different forms of it. So
place for you to release.
So for me, when I go home, we in the country, so it's woods everywhere. So a lot of times I just take a walk deep in the woods, and I'm out there by myself, man. And so if I've been struggling with the thought or something, an opinion that I might feel. And that's a lot of times what it is, man. It's something that you feel scared to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, so because somebody might say like, oh, you might call me stupid. I'm not really smart, so I don't want to sound like I don't know anything, or then you might think I'm dark with what I've been thinking. And that's what a lot of people have going on too, because they're dealing with a lot of trauma. So, naturally that's going to create a lot of dark thoughts. So if you have a safe space where you can just say those thoughts out loud, talk to yourself about why you feel that way, scream if you have to, cry if you have to, laugh if you have to, do that silly dance that you always wanted to do that you too shy to do in front of your family because you don't like to see nobody. You don't like nobody to see you dance. You know what I mean? But while you're in that moment, ask yourself when you're feeling good and you're being truthful, like, man, this feels good. Why don't I do that more? And when you get to the root of what's in the way, then that's the therapy you're doing with removing those blocks or those viruses or those stones in your body that's blocking that energy and it's keeping you sick mentally or physically. So yeah. And then so with a group or with a partner, there has to be an agreement. So it's not about being at I'm at your space or your space. It's about when we talk, there's a time period. Let's say, okay, today from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. When you and I talk, whether that's on the phone or together, we get to say whatever we want to say with love, but we get to talk about whatever we feel about without any one of us reacting to each other or judging each other or saying anything about what we got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, it has to be mutually agreed upon, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, because then you can find exactly what you're looking for. And that's again that safe space. That's when now things can flow, and you can work on some things and build on some things, right? You can get that stuff out there that's just tucked away, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing right there, mutually agreed upon. And think about it. If you're going to a safe space where it's a building, a group, it's still the same thing. It's still something that's agreed that, hey, this is the time for us to air out what's going on. What's been going on with you this week, brother? What do you want to get out? And now you air that thing out there. And so I think it's just a lot of different ways that you can look at that. But the biggest thing is, you know, finding the opportunity to be in a safe space, right? Finding the opportunity to be in that environment and to allow yourself to get into the practice of doing that. So I think that's the biggest thing. Mama Juju in the house.
Mama Juju,
Yeah,
she got all the chakras up there. She
got them
aligned.
all. Dope.
And Nat said it takes practice, and that's so true, man. It does, and it takes consistency, which is a struggle, personally with me. And a lot of times, stuff that how my personality works. When I was little, I didn't like to go to practice because I felt like when I saw something, I could quickly pick it up, and then so I was like, "Oh, I'm ready, let's go." So when I was 6, I got my arm broke, man, because I'm trying to skate at Skate-A-Rama for the first time. No lessons, nothing. Put my skates on. My mom was like, "Boy, you ain't ready to get out of that floor." I'm like, "What you mean? I'm ready. I got my skates on." As soon as I got there, whoop, fell, bow. A kid ran over my arm, broke it.
Ooh.
So, and then another example, and a lot of people like this, man. You know how you work out and you finally get to being in shape, you're looking good in the mirror, you feeling good. When you get to that place, sometimes it can be a struggle to stay in that place because you've experienced it, and then you're like, "Oh, I got it now," and then you just,
right, yep,
yeah. So I noticed that with myself and with a lot of other people with they're having a good tool, but doing it 1 or 2 times the right way and feeling good about it. Then you're like, "Oh, I guess I'm good with that now."
Yeah.
or if the opposite if it doesn't work out the first couple of times, giving up on it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would encourage people to have is a fight to to try to get to a place where you can at least have a safe space. But that's going to take you having a partner that you trust, or just trusting yourself, even if you're just starting with yourself, because that's where the trust starts, man. It's with self. So start off with that. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, just have a conversation with yourself and ask yourself in the mirror, how are you feeling and who are you? And don't lie, and don't start just going into affirmations. You are great, you are beautiful. Yeah, you do that afterwards, but have a minute to just be real with yourself, because even if you're ugly in that moment, you don't have to stay ugly, but at least you've been truthful to yourself, so that then if you are ugly and you don't want to stay there, you can do something to change it, and then do your affirmation of you're beautiful. And I'm just using those words very loosely, but I think you follow where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just telling the truth, man. Like if you know you got a bad habit with video games, it's okay to just say it just say it out loud. You know what? I love I love 2K. There it
Right.
is.
Yeah.
There it is. I like playing it 12 hours a day. You know,
Right.
not me personally. I haven't played video games in a while, but I'm saying for that grown 35-year-old man who,
Yeah. Yeah.
ain't doing his job at home, just tell the truth, man. Hey, you know
Yeah.
what? It's just still part of me and I love it. And then tell the truth why you love it. And man, usually when you start digging and you start asking more questions, you start getting to the root, and you're like, oh, I don't just do this just because there's something attached to this.
Hmm.
Is this thing attached to it for me or not for me? You know what I mean?
Right.
And if it's not for you, you got to do that work to remove it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it right there, man. And like Mama Juju said, to thine own self be true. That's the thing, man. You have to be real with yourself out the gate, right? Because that's also part of that safe space. And I think it does start internally, right? It starts with you first, but you if you're just lying to yourself, guess what's going to happen when you get in that safe space? Whether it's with yourself, a group, a relationship, that is probably going to take over. So now it's going to be the same thing. You're not being true. So now what happens is, instead of me actually it's benefiting me in some way and actually helping me to progress, to now solve something, I'm staying in that, I'm staying on that rat wheel because I haven't allowed the environment to be fertile for me to be able to grow. So that's the important part of just being true to yourself, man. And it's funny you were talking about working out. That's one of my biggest, in the last, I would say, year and a half. That's been one of my biggest safe spaces, man. Which is why I had to get back to the gym. I said, okay, you know what? It's people. I'm just gonna get in there early, man. I was going late. I said, all right, I'm gonna get up at 4 o'clock. I gotta do it because it is one of the things where it's that place where my thoughts flow clearly. Aggression, any emotion that's going on, I right there in that time when I'm hitting the weights, when I'm doing cardio, when I'm foam rolling, stretching, when I'm at the gym, I can address any emotion. And that's one of those things where I feel that. And so now that place is where I do it. I can take it all there and be, as aggressive and freeing as I want to be with the weights, let out a grunt here and there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be that annoying dude in the gym. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And throwing stuff. But, that's where it can really just flow. The thoughts, everything. Just, it's almost, man, I liken it to almost like meditation, man, when I'm in the gym. And so it's one of those things where that has become a safe space for me. And that's the thing too. I think it's important for people to really think about, okay, what is a safe space? If I don't have one, what could that look like? Where could I go? Where could I be true to myself and true to everything that's going on? Um,
Don't
you
make
know,
it that deep. In the mirror. Go in that bathroom, close the door when ain't nobody else there, and just spend 10 minutes talking to yourself. And then from there, evolve it out. And if you got a lover, if you got a partner, a wife, a husband, say, hey, until you heal from your trauma, because some things I say you're going to be triggered by, and vice versa.
Mhm.
Let's just have a time where we can just talk about whatever, and however awful it sounds, let's just have a rule that we're not going to get mad at each other. That's what the safe space is. You know what I mean? And what you're talking about is more so it's a safe space, but more so like that's your therapy space. You know what I mean? That's your like, what's that? What's that? What am I looking for? Like I got that's your comfort space, which is that's another thing to have too. Like you gotta have something that you do that makes you feel good. You know what I
Right.
mean? So if you like going to the gym and it feels good to express all that energy and that passion and grunt and thinking your thoughts while you listening to that music, because I was on that too. You know what I mean? Like I'll whether I'm boxing or whether I'm doing my favorite day was chest day because that's when I'm the strongest. So, you know, make you feel good, man, when you just getting stronger and stronger and hitting that weight, and you can just turn that what you're doing into a whole therapy session. So if you was mad about something before, you know, instead of holding in that anger, now you can channel that anger and use it to get these hundreds off your chest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why a lot of if you notice, a lot of football players are very angry, and but part of that is because all that frustration that they have, they're using this outlet to take out that energy. um so there's two parts to it. You know, one part is, okay, I have a space where I can let out this energy, but there's also a space where I have to just talk to myself about why I have this energy, because some of it might not be healthy, and some of it might be forgotten about, that you need to be reminded of and that you need to wake up. You know what I mean? So bringing those two things together, um,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. And like you said, I, I love that. I tell people often, people talk to me about, well, I want to be a better speaker, or, I want to be better at talking to crowds. And I say, well, you know what? That starts in the mirror. The more comfortable you are with yourself, the more comfortable you be with that. Because most times what happens is now, even when I'm talking to a crowd, I made this analogy one time. I was talking to a fellow coach. I said, listen, okay, it's a crowd. It's an audience. It's not crowds, or audiences. So it's that one-on-one thing. So I guarantee you, if you're not comfortable speaking and expressing yourself in front of people, you can't go talk to yourself and have a legit conversation with yourself in the mirror for 2 or 3 minutes. And so that right there, when you said that, I was like, yes, that's being able to look in the mirror and say, how you feeling today, man? What's going on? What are your thoughts? What's going on in your head? Where are you stuck right now? I think that's huge when someone can get to that point, because it's like you say, it's nothing deep. It's just something where it's getting you comfortable with knowing what's going on inside.
man, the more you are true to yourself and the more you're aware of yourself, the more, the less you are reactive to how other people feel about you.
Mm,
And the less you hold yourself back from being whatever you came here to be, because you're not worried about you. It's always worried about whether you're gonna die, whether you're gonna fail, or whether people are gonna accept you. And neither of those things matter. It's all things that we do to ourselves. You know what I mean? Where we hold ourselves back. Like, bro, half of my family didn't even know I could sing till I was darn near in college, because I was too shy to just let it out. You know what I mean?
mhm.
I didn't feel like I had a safe space to like work on finding the right note without somebody laughing first. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, yeah. So man, you'll be surprised how many decades of stuff you done held back, and them things start to turn into monsters inside you, and they like, let me out.
Right.
And when somebody poke that button, them muds come out.
Yeah. Thing.
Yeah,
They
man.
ain't gonna stream long, because again, like you said, the right trigger happens, they're gonna come out. and it may not be at the time where you want it to happen, but it's important. It's important to do that. Like you said, a lot of times you just don't know. Mama Juju said repetition is the same as manifestation, because if you keep telling yourself something long enough, you will do it. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. Yeah, yeah. So and again, it's all those self-defeating principles and ideas, and all this stuff that we hold on to. And a lot of it is trauma, right? It's past experiences, or what you said, it was huge fear, right? You fear failure, you fear death, and you fear people not accepting you, or that imposter syndrome. I'm doing this, but I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, this is not the lane I'm supposed to be in. Do they see me? Do they feel me? Do they hear me? So yeah, that's huge, man. And that, I think that goes back to our very first time doing this. That was the thing we talked about. We wanted to create a safe space, and not always talking about religion or physical, whatever we talk about. We still wanted to be, this is a safe space. Hey, you can come kick it with Bro Study, come kick it with Coach Mike, Rev Goodbody, say whatever the heck you want. Ain't no backlash. We can discuss, because the thing is too, like you said earlier, also, it's just a lot of in society. It's just a lot of a lot of things are insincere or fake. Where okay, you don't agree, like you don't believe like I believe. You don't agree with me, so I ain't got nothing to do with you. I can't hear you, or we can't talk. We can't communicate. And that's crazy. And to think, if you sit and think about that, it's like, I don't want everybody. I don't want 7 billion mics in the world. Or let me say, I don't want 7 billion me's in the world, because it's a whole lot. It's millions of mics, but I don't want 7 billion of me in the world. That's not the reflection that I want to see. So that goes into kind of the why of why it's important. So like we talked.
These agreements are illusions too. They're ideas that you hold on to help you create a narrative for yourself that feels safe. Yeah, but I mean, we're evolving, so I'm not going to judge that we're still at that place where we have to have agreements, physical agreements with each other. And but that's something we're going to eventually have to evolve out of, because you don't need anybody to agree with you on nothing, because if you're being in harmony with yourself, you're naturally going to attract and reflect that and interact others who have that same energy. So as long as communication is there, and the understanding is there, and I guess understanding and agreement is the same. So with that, yeah, definitely, like, hey, what are we on the same page with? You know what I mean? And what do we understand that we both understand equally? You know what I mean? From there, and that's in relationship. But as far as like an individual, like needing somebody to agree is needing somebody to validate what you're saying. But if you need somebody to validate what you're saying, that means you don't agree with yourself, because you're still in search for it to be true. So you need somebody else to say, yeah, that's right. And then when they don't, you go, oh no, why did you say it's right? Right. No, man. So I've been learning a lot, man, about the power of, making everything about yourself. It's tough, it's challenging. But the world and the universe will continuously show you yourself. And so if you're having experiences, whether good or bad, know that it's a reflection of something that is moving within inside of you, So yeah, I've been having some really good moments with family and friends. It's been a beautiful year with like introspection and reflection. There's been days where it was really like challenging. Those days where you don't see eye to eye. And that's when you put your big girl and your big boy pants on. 'Cause you're like, dang, man, I thought, you really feel like you're good. And then the universe be like, oh, you still got one more step to take. You're like, man,
Right.
I ain't tired of these lessons around here, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not even a big lesson, to be honest with you, man. It's really just as simple as don't put no wall of fear up. Just relax. Everything is okay. There's nothing to fear. There's really nothing to fear. And the more you allow yourself to realize that and manifest that, then you could just be and experience everything. And whatever happens, you know how to mentally and physically prepare and address it without having your emotional self imbalanced. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, man. That right there too, like you said though, that's a journey in itself too, to get to the point where you realize how the things that you experience, your experiences are a reflection of something going on. That's a hard pill for people to swallow, man. And that, like I like I said, that's a whole journey to get to that point. And I think that it takes levels of really dealing. It takes levels of really dealing with yourself and that getting deep into that self discovery journey to where you can get to that point. And it's got to be some. It's got to be some outside um, digging that you got to come across to just really understand how that works. Because a lot of times people, I was watching a live video. It was some weeks back from a brother that I admire, Kurt Nugent, and he was talking about that. He gave some examples of some things that people say. So you mean to tell me this is some reflection of something going on inside? That right there, if you can just deal with that process and think about that, that's huge for your journey through life. And the two words that's so important, what you said, is just be. Man, that is a challenge. To get to that point where you can just be, where things you realize that okay, you see things as they are and you know how to deal with it. Okay, this happens. Got it. Cool. And I think it takes a lot of experience or practice to get to that point. But when you can, man, that's when things become beautiful. And you're not so sidetracked and so, so caught off guard by every little thing that happens. Case in point, a year like 2020. And, it's what we said maybe last time or a couple of times ago, 2020. It's still that 2020 vision, man, because everything is being made clear. It's like clarity, man. Like we're seeing so many things and it's right here in front of us. And I think it's also taking the blinders off what is and what is not important, in our lives and the things that we really should be focusing on. So yeah, man, when you can get to that point, man, of knowing that the universe is really going to continue to make you deal with what's going on inside. You can't hide, you can't run from it. And when you can deal with that, I think that's when you become a beast in this thing called life, man. And I think it's a journey that everybody has to, I'm not going to say needs to, but has to start, because life, you can really enjoy and really grow and observe life in a different way when you can get to that point.
Mm-hmm. People don't like science, man, but they'll learn. It's in you. It's in your DNA. We're water. We're primarily water and stardust, which is light. And all of our information, most of our information comes from the sun, which is another form of light. And what happens when you put light and sound and water together? You get colors, you get reflections. So we're walking around in a water pool, just looking at ourselves. This whole place is us just experiencing ourselves.
Mm.
And the idea, if creation is off of love, the more you love, the more you move. So it's not about loving like being nice or something. It's more so about having that self-love to where you're experiencing something as if you're experiencing yourself. So that
Yeah.
same self-love you have for yourself, like, man, whatever I am right now, it's just, man, that's all right.
Right.
And let me take a deeper look at it. Like, my left hand bigger than my right. Okay, cool. I got 2 teeth missing. All right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
Right.
start just like love on yourself and be like, okay, cool, whatever. Give me a hug. And then you go outside and you look at the trees and you do the same thing, because you'll realize, like, man, if y'all wasn't out here, I wouldn't even be able to talk to nobody right now because I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to breathe. Like, okay, so let me even like check out how you move, because that might show me something about how I should move. You know what I mean? And that's what
Hmm.
ancestors started doing. They started reflecting life, man. So you could tell that they was really in tune with nature because that's all they talked about. And everything that they saw, you can see it as they wrote it. It still correlated back to us. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it too. And I like how you said that, man. It's love. That's the thing. Not sympathy, not empathy. Love. Like when you truly operate, right? When you can get to the point where you operate in love, where you experience life through the lenses of love. Now it doesn't take someone telling you, man, you don't see this happen to this person. This. No, when you're operating already in that, no one has to tell you about how to react to someone else in need or something going on negatively. And so that I when you said that, I was like, yes, that's the thing, man. It's getting out of the point of being reactionary and always living and being in that constant state of love, where you appreciate everything for what it is. And like you said, it's seeing it. Okay, that's that. Got it. I appreciate it. It's cool. And now life becomes so much more of a flow. We can get to that point of operating through love. And that's why anything I see that's dealing with love or things like that, I'm all about it. And even when I talk about my life's mission is to share my light, love, and positivity. That's I put that love in the middle for a reason because I want that to be kind of the foundation and the core of how I operate, man. And it's it again, it's practice, right? Because I have to constantly check myself and say, okay, Mike, is that operating out of love? Is that reaction? Is that thing? Is this project, this thing you want to do? Is that going to be um, something that is bringing more love, bringing more light to a situation, to a group of people, to an organization? And so that right there, man, that if we can get to that point, and of course, everybody won't, at least not at the same time, but getting to that point, man, is just, man, it's like light speed in your life's journey, man, in the hero's journey.
Yeah. And I don't want people to think that you got to be perfect with like not feeling, because that's something I'm learning too. And that my own personal theology or theory is that, man, we have all of these ways of expressing emotions for a reason. So I don't think any emotion is bad. I just think the timing in which you use it could be off or bad, or incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like fire. Fire is neither good, good or bad. It just depending on what the circumstance is, or what the intent is. So if you're intending to heat someone with care, it's good. If you're intending to burn them to the ground, because you're mad about something, then it's bad. Um, so like really understanding your emotions and what they are, and not looking at any of them. Like frustration or anger is not a bad emotion. It's only bad when you have no control over it and you're
Yeah.
mad at everything and everybody. Everything is a problem.
That made me think of Avatar, man. Avatar, the Last Airbender. That's what that made me think about.
Uh,
Knowing what to use and when. Yeah, like because you said
yeah.
fire, and that just immediately took me to that, man. Yeah, it's important, man. It's what you have and how you use it. And yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's the last thing that you want to do is get into a place where you don't feel anything, because that can add on to trauma too, and that can add on to that pressure, right? That backup. So the emotions, you have to deal with them, right? Again, it's the actions, it's how you use these things, right? It's
And,
how you let them reflect.
and you know what that will do? It will, because man, if you did a survey and asked 100 people if they ever just looked somebody into their eyes for longer than 5 seconds, I bet you 80% of those people will tell you no. Because when you're afraid to look into yourself, since we are really reflections of each other, looking into somebody else's eyes is really hard to do, because you literally can feel or see in some kind of way some truth, or you can see that they really see you, or you see that you
Mhm.
really see them. And if you're not confident in who you are, that's why a lot of us go do this when you're like, hey, and you're looking away, like you can't face looking right into the eye because you're looking into the soul, which really you're just looking into yourself, and that's what you've been running away from. So that can be another like step in a understanding of when you got into that place when you can really just look somebody in the eye and have a conversation with them, because then now you get to see what the truth is. So now you're not assuming what they mean or what they think about you or how they feel. No, you really see. And if they're saying something off, you can see past what off is, and you can go, "Oh, I'm really looking at you. I know that's not what you mean."
Right.
And man, that's a whoo boy. We're talking about stuff that's like, this ain't no stuff you just like, oh, take notes and we'll have this by tomorrow.
Oh
Man,
yeah. Right.
I done learned this stuff, a couple years ago, and I still haven't fully figured it out yet.
It's a
Uh,
lifetime journey for many people, and the thing is, it's a lifetime journey. I'm not going to say for many people, all people, because you never truly arrive. There's something that you can work on, or that you can do a little bit different today than what you did yesterday, to keep growing and just to ever evolve. And so I think that's the thing too, is just realizing that, okay, man, because that's what happens too. I'm going to say that's what happens a lot of times when people see um, speakers or videos, or even bro study, or anything on any level, documentaries on TV. They see this, and it can become this thing of being overwhelming, right? Because it's like, okay, well, while they're hearing this, what you're talking about, or while they're sitting and seeing these people talk about this thing, they're thinking of everything that they're dealing with, and they're saying, well, man, no, well, not this and not that. And it becomes that, okay, now I still, going back to what we said, we can't face that. We can't. MJ told us, man, we can't face that man in the mirror. And so now this thing, it
yeah,
reflects on everything else, because now we haven't got comfortable with just going to that mirror and saying, look, this I got to talk to you first. So that's when I say my affirmations, especially the start of my day, I do it in the mirror, and I look directly at I don't look to the side. I'm doing it like it's a presentation, and my audience is my eyeballs. Like, I look right here. And so it's one of those things, again, it's getting comfortable with that task of knowing that, okay, it's a constant journey, and this is that practice. And now I can begin to manifest that thing, because I'm working here first, and it comes outward. And especially for me, I can't sit up here and be a fraud and work with people on this stuff on a daily basis
if
as a
you're not
life
working
coach.
on it on
And I'm
yourself.
not exactly. So what would I look like if I didn't have a mentor or a coach to even still work on the things that I deal with, right? Because that's the thing. The average therapist, if not all of them, the vast majority, they have a therapist. You
You
better
have to,
believe. So
because
people,
you're taking in so much energy, and it's like stagnant energy. You're absorbing that. So you got to do something with that stuff, man.
yeah.
So yeah, you got to go talk it out.
And
Talk it
the coaching approach is more asking the right questions, right? The better you can become as a coach is the better you can ask questions, right? So, you know, you're un you're unraveling a lot of stuff. And so, to deal with that, and now you deal with this, unboxing for an hour. You shake it off, and then you jump right back to another person. And now I'm asking you all these right questions. You better find a space. You know what I mean? Because I remember when I first got started in it, and I got my first few clients. It was one of those things like, man, this is crazier than speaking in front of, speaking to a school or audience. I was like, man, why do I feel hoarse, or why do I feel drained? I'm sitting right here looking at, virtually, or, going to the coffee shop, meeting with somebody. This is what I love to do, but it's different, because
Right.
again, it's a process. It's a constant process.
Yeah, man. Oh, side note, and oh, indeed, Natalie. And also ditto to where unconditional love, um
Yeah.
That's something that you talk about. You know, they talk about in church all the time, but it's not manifested. Because if it's unconditional love, then there will be more Christians and Muslim going to each other's churches. There will be more gay and straight people hanging out outside of going to the club together. They'll be in more spiritual settings together because ain't nobody judging each other and ain't nobody saying, "Oh, I love you," you know, you
Unconditional.
act this way, but you know that part of you on, you know, I ain't God don't love
Right.
it, I don't love it. Like what? Nah,
Yeah, you can come, but don't wear this.
right. Like
You
so,
good, but don't bring your friend. Yeah, man.
yeah. So my side note was so there's a lot of research and study on psilocybin mushrooms, and I'm bringing this up not in a joking way because you know we talk about shrooms or psychedelics. People go, "Oh no, we want to talk about drugs. I don't want to mess with that stuff." Um, you know, we've been programmed to have concepts and ideas about things that we haven't researched on our own, and there's a lot of research and studies that show that psilocybin mushrooms has properties in them that work in the areas in the body to help relieve stress and anxiety, um, and detoxify the body of stagnant negative energy. Um, and the main thing it does is take that lens of you looking out and it turn that mud right in. So it's literally like a medicine that makes you deal with yourself.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
Yeah, man. What's our show? What's our little animated series?
uh which one?
Um Man, the one you put me on to, and it's supposed to be coming back with another season.
Kipo?
No. Where it
Animated.
was, yeah, the was it Netflix? Anyway, keep going. I can't think of it now, but it made me when you said that it reflects it right back to you. It made me think of his
Mm.
conversations in every episode.
Oh, you're talking about Midnight Gospel.
Yeah, Midnight Gospel.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Shout out to Duncan.
yeah,
Um so So yeah, man. Once people get away from that fear and allow themselves to have have tools in their life to help them get to that place, that one in particular is a very helpful tool. Um, I've experienced it before. For the for and I was by myself, and I intended to be by myself.
thanks to Nat and Chris coming in with the
Hey, right.
both of them answer for me.
Um, and man, but I cried like a newborn baby for about 2.5 hours straight, and it wasn't because I was sad. I didn't have nothing going on that day, but what happened was as I'm in my silence and I'm in my isolation, a lot of some things that I was unaware that I had not dealt with from the past, they came up and they spoke.
Mm,
And the crying wasn't like, "Oh, I'm so wrong, I'm so sorry." It was, "Hey, you've been you haven't acknowledged me. So acknowledge me and love me and cry it out because I done turned into like this is stagnation. So we gotta get out of here. This doesn't exist in you anymore." And man, like the floodgates just open and I'll just cry.
yeah,
Just releasing all that old juju from like 10 years old, wherever it came from. I was like, why am I crying right now? I don't know, but just keep going. Bro, I was like snot coming out of my nose. Now when I looked in the mirror, I'm a mess. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna call nobody. And listen, people, this has nothing to do with oh, it twists your mind, you're going crazy. No, you're not. The science on it. We'll show it to you. So I go in the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I'm a mess, like red, just blah. And I just stood there and I just like, you know what? I'm just going to sit with myself and I'm going to just, be with myself right now. And man, after like 30 minutes, bro, like I just felt light. I felt good. I felt clear. I felt peaceful. I didn't have no anxiety. I wasn't holding on to anything. And yeah, like it was like it unlocked a weight that needed to be let go of. And a lot of us, like Erica Badu said, man, bag lady, you know, you're gonna miss your bus, you're gonna miss your opportunity, dragging all that weight, all that trauma. You know,
Yep.
she said, I guess nobody ever told you all you gotta hold on to is you. Like,
Shoot. Yeah.
man, when we were taught in the church that Erica Badu was singing some demonic stuff, I'm like, no, man, she trying to free your mind. She said, all you
Right.
need is you.
The only place, the only safe place that you are supposed to get to an emotional state like that is in the walls of this church. So
And all
anything
you
that
see, and all you see coming at church is people expressing trauma through pain. So anytime somebody sing a song, somebody crying, and it don't feel beautiful, like, man, I feel the way you just expressed those tears. No, it's always a feeling of sadness. You know how much sadness I saw in the church? I used to see grown women pass out, bro, in church because they're thinking about a loved one that they lost, or they thought about how bad life has been this whole time for them, and somebody getting up and pulling on them heartstrings, singing some old sad song about low is me, all my family dead, and they just go, "Ah, ah," and it's like, bro, it's almost like a mental breakdown.
yeah.
Because you trigger those emotions. Like the church is supposed to be that's a spiritual place, because there's so many elements to the soul in their music. Frequency is how we channel emotion and use our mind. Like the altar is your mind. The pews is the people. That's your body. You know what I mean? The pulpit is your pineal gland. And we done took all those elements of ourselves and we done gave them to other people. And all we're doing is just talking about what we got going on inside. And it's a lot of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And when you talked about the experience, right, with the mushrooms, it made me think about have you done a deep dive breath work session? Have you ever done that? Man, it made me think of that
That
because
that sends you that sends you into a different state of mind as well.
yeah, and
Mhm.
it kind of made me think of that because I did one where it was the crazy thing. It was only 30 minutes, and it was cycles, right? And the instructor was awesome. She was awesome, and she was actually a life coach
Mm.
that's moving into breath work. Her and her husband, they're opening up a facility in Georgia, but so I did it, and she explained what could happen, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm open minded, so I'm like, okay, cool, I'm down, I'm good. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, because I'm good, because I'm open to this thing, it's not going to happen, quite. Anyway,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
we go in that first cycle. It's like, okay, this feels
Real,
awful.
real quick, when you finish this story, just say this. If and Nat or Ma, if you're still here, just remind me when Mike finished telling the story to say, talk about breath in the spirit. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we go around the first cycle. It's like, oh man, I start to feel weightless, right? Weightless on the floor. So we get to that second cycle and going into the third cycle. I started to feel, emotions, right? But it was like it was different because
Mhm,
it was presenting itself differently. It was not like just a cry or whatever. It was almost like a sound or jerk, and I was like, whoa. And so
mhm,
going through that same thing coming out of it, it was like, wow, no anxiety, no feelings of all this stuff. It was just, yeah, just Natalie said another beautiful form of release. It was release. And so yeah, that's what made me think of that when you were talking about it. It's just like, yeah, that's like
But
a
that, but
breath
and,
session.
and that's what it's all about, man. It's that breathing. Um, I don't want to be incorrect because I was going to go into a little bit more science on the shrooms. But I don't want to be off, so I'll talk about that a little later. But with the breath, you know, they'll tell you too that yoga is bad or you don't need to be doing all that. Kundalini stuff. And it's like, nah, this is just form. This is parts of your body, man. You have to do this in order to live. You have to breathe in order to live. You have to be in harmony with breath in order to live. You got to breathe in and you got to breathe out. And if you don't breathe, what happens? You're not here. And so with that breath work, what you'll find is that there's a lot of carbon monoxide trapped in the body. It's like little air pockets in the body that then form into disease because you ain't let that air out. You ain't released. You ain't breathe. You been tight, sucking up. You know what I mean? Straining. And so going back to that word breath, if we go back to what our ancestors did with that word, the breath and the spirit was the same thing, because the spirit is that thing, that life force that moves throughout nature that you can't see, but you can feel, you can tell it's present. Like if you put a flag up and you see the wind moving the flag, you can't see the wind, but you can see the effect that it has on the thing that is interacting with it. And so our ancestors go, okay, that's the spirit. They identify that as the spirit, but it's the breath. And so, but in terms of when it comes into your body, you got to let the spirit move through you. You know what I mean? Energy has to be in a constant state of moving. Like that's why the freshest water comes from a river. And if we're, forms of water, then we got to look at how nature moves. The places where water flows the most, you got the freshest water, you got the most minerals. And you go into stagnant water like a pond or a puddle, it's murky, it's muddy, and it has a lot of built up matter around it. Usually in the body, we'll call that an excessive amount of mucus. Mucus is important, but not too much of it. And so it obstructs the cells, and now the cells can't breathe. So if you listen to Dr. Sebi, he'll say that the body can heal itself if you can allow the cells to get oxygen. So when you get oxygen to these cells, you're enriching the blood. And so the blood is also that vital life force that comes from the sun. And so that has to be clean, but it also has to be, what was it called? I'm gonna say oxidated, but I'm sorry, I'm losing the word. But it's important to have a deep understanding of how important your breathing is, because it has responsibility for like how your body and how your mind operates. Like if you don't get enough oxygen to your brain, then you're not gonna be able to even think clearly. So yeah, man, that breath alone can be a therapeutic experience if you know how to like go there.
Yeah. Work that prana. It's the awesome thing, man. But yeah, man, that's awesome, man. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, man. That safe space and safe place and kind of what it means and why it's important. Because
oxygenated. Thank you, Natalie.
Natalie, man, drop the clues bomb for Natalie. She's saving our thoughts. Saving our thoughts tonight. But yeah, that again, I think it's so important, man. Like I said, with life in general. I'm not going to just say 2020 with everything going on, but just period. I think it's important to know what it means and to get on that journey yourself. And if you think about it, man, what we talk about from week to week, month to month, it all starts with self, right? And it's that self discovery, that journey of self, getting comfortable with self, growing, loving yourself, so that can spread outwardly. Because if it doesn't start with you, you're not going to make true progress. But again, it's so many things and so many outside sources that keep us from doing that. No, you can't do that, or no, you can't. Even I always thought about, this is why I thought meditation was bad, bro. Because an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And I can't sit and let my mind be idle. I can't sit and let my mind be idle. And so again, it's all these.
Won't he do it?
It's all these
Warning confusion.
that keep us from really breaking free, right? Breaking those chains. Again, we talk about it, break the chains. It's the chain, that's binding me, but we ain't sitting and dealing with the chains that's binding us. So yeah, man, don't make me preach, man.
Yeah, man.
Make me
Just
preach. Stay
breathe.
on preach.
Just breathe. Like it's just like when people get into it and they get real scared and then somebody just go, hey, just breathe, just
Breathe.
breathe.
Yeah.
What does that do?
Breathe.
It brings you to a state of balance. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the state you want to always be in, because if you're in balance, you're like present. And when you're
Right.
present, you can see everything clear as day. So whatever move you got to make, however you need to see things, however you need to be, whatever you need to do, you will know how to do it when everything comes to right here. Just
Yeah.
breathe and not
Yeah.
be over here or low over there. But yeah, man, I gotta go.
Yes.
Uh, I appreciate this talk.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, bro.
Thank all the listeners for coming in. What
Yeah,
Mama
thank you,
Juju say?
everybody. My cuz, Eric, Alex, Mama Juju, Nat, Chris, everybody who
Natalie, Chris,
shared. Yeah. Um, and
everything
never
you do and or think outside of the pastor is sin.
Mama Juju with the closing thoughts. But yeah, bro, I appreciate you, man, as always. And we appreciate all y'all, man. And we'll be back for another bro study. Y'all take care.
For sure.
Peace.